Hey, what the hell are you doing walking around dressed like Star Wars?
It's Comic-Con, you idiot. We're going to the Javits Center.
Well, you're the idiots, because you three guys would never be walking together.
Yeah, you're his boss, and you two guys are enemies.
Yeah, bite me, Captain Kirk.
Hey, whoa, come on. No, that's Star Trek.
Yeah, that's two different franchises.
Yeah, sorry, guys. She doesn't know.
Nah, it's okay. I'm sorry you have to deal with that.
Let's go.
Oh, hey, come on. It's not worth it, man. It's not worth it. Not worth it.
I amuse myself. Welcome back to Fanzone Debate. Nick is so happy as the co-owner of this channel that that's what I just played. But welcome back. We got another episode of Fanzone Debate for you. Very excited about this one. We got two former champs, two titans coming in to debate before us this evening. We got Brian Michaels going up against Jacoby Bancroft. Last time we saw Brian was in the title match where he lost the belt against Kirk. Last time we saw Jacoby was, I believe, in that same picture at the end of the year. I think he lost to Kirk as well when Kirk went to that title match against Brian. So both have recently lost to Kirk. They can look at that together. But we are going to talk to them real quick before we get into the match. Jacoby, welcome. Welcome to Fanzone Debate. We got Javi and Nick here as well to judge this one. What are your thoughts on taking on Brian? I forgot to say, it's an America's Asses reunion.
Yeah, no, that's great. I'm very excited to debate Brian. It's great because I wanted to debate Brian last season, but I lost to Kirk, so I couldn't do that. But now losing still got me closer to Brian. So that's a lesson to all you kids out there. Lose more, and then you'll get what you want. But I'm very excited overall to face Brian. I love Brian. He's a great guy. I think our sensibilities are the same. I think our debate styles in terms of where we put our energy and our focus are very similar. So I'm interested of how this is go. He doesn't seem like a person that would get me like worked up and super angry like someone like Kirk and somebody else does, but I never know. I'm very excited to play Brian. So I always like, being on a call with Brian. So this will be interesting. I'm stoked.
All right, great. And let's bring in Brian. Brian, welcome. The last time you played, you lost a belt, but you played phenomenal. And now you're going up against a former champ, Jacoby. And if you win today, that's one step closer to getting that belt back. Is that what you're looking for? Or are you just looking to have a fun match with Jacoby?
Well, I think I can have both. I mean, last time you asked me who I wanted to play, Kirk or Jacoby, and I said Jacoby, but then you said, fuck you, no, you're playing Kirk. And then Kirk had to go and beat me. So I blame Jacoby for that, honestly. So this is his punishment for that. But I do think this will be fun. Like Jacoby said, I think we have very similar kind of sensibilities. I think this is going to be one of those polite debates that you guys hate so much. So we'll see how that goes.
We'll try to make it spicy. We'll try to make it a little spicy. I'll get angry. Okay.
I enjoy politeness. Politeness is good. All
this
right.
This is my debut debating here on TBNT.
That's true. That is accurate, technically. All right. So here's how it's going to work. There are going to be 4 prep questions based off of categories that you guys drafted. We gave you the questions. You gave us the answers. You're going to debate those questions tonight before our very souls. So you're each going to get 1 minute to open your argument, 5-minute free form, and a 1-minute closing at the end of the debate. Javi, Nick, and I will write on our handy dandy boards who we thought won the debate. If you get 2 out of 3 votes, that earns you a point. If you get to 3 points, you win the match. Any questions? Great. Let's do it. All right, let's kick this off with the first question. It was drafted by Mr. Michaels in the category of Fight Night. The question is, what is the best kill in a Mortal Kombat movie? Brian, because you drafted this, you get to go first. You have 1 minute when you start talking. I will come in to give you the 10-second warning when the time comes.
So Mortal Kombat is new to fandom this year, and this was kind of the no-brainer first question to ask. What is the best kill in Mortal Kombat? The best kill takes place in the best film of the franchise, the 2021 film, between the 2 most iconic characters in the franchise, Scorpion and Sub-Zero, as portrayed by 2 of the best actors in the franchise, that being the amazing Hiroyuki Sanada and Joe Taslim, who's a martial arts expert from films like The Raid and The Night Comes For Us. Everything about it comes together in this climactic moment when Hanzo finally defeats Bihan, avenging the murder of his wife and child. After Scorpion uses his iconic kunai chain spear to put a defeated Sub-Zero on his knees, he removes his mask and begins to blast him with flames. Sub-Zero ignites as his body burns, chars, and flakes, while even Scorpion's own face starts to burn, revealing a glimpse of his skull underneath in a nod to the franchise's most iconic classic fatality that dates back to the very first game. Not only is the kill itself cool looking and satisfying, it's even better because the moment is the culmination and climax of not only the best fight in the franchise, but of the whole film, and it has weight and meaning behind it, beyond just being gore and cool factor.
Okay. All right. We are going to move over to Mr. Bancroft. Jacoby, you have 1 minute to open your argument when you start talking.
The best kill in a Mortal Kombat movie is the flawless victory that takes place when Kung Lao kills Natara. Look, if you're watching a Mortal Kombat movie, you really want one thing: for the kills you see on screen to be as brutal, as creative, and as fun to watch as they are in the video game series. That's really it. Kung Lao is a fan favorite character with a razor edge hat, and you want to see him do something creative with it. And boy, does he. Fighting the demon bird lady Natara, Kung Lao takes his razor hat, plants it on the ground like a buzzsaw, then rides that bird and drives her directly into the spinning blade. Blood and guts shoot everywhere as the razor hat splits Natara in half. It's a flawless victory. It's glorious. I think this is the only kill in the entire franchise that truly lives up to the creativeness and brutality of the video games and sets a high bar for the rest of the movie that it's in the 2021 one that I don't think it ever really matches. Kung Lao used his iconic weapon creatively, brutally, wonderfully, and has you cheering unlike almost any other kill in that movie.
Time. Okay. Great picks. 5-minute freeform. One of you starts talking. I will throw up the 1 minute warning when the time comes. If I feel like you're talking too much and you're not letting your opponent talk, I'm going to throw up the let your opponent talk. Don't make me do that. It'll make me very sad. And Nick is actually here tonight, and I'm going to put him on call to berate you and make you feel small. So 5-minute freeform when one of you starts.
So you say you just want one thing from Mortal Kombat movie, and that's not true. You want to have more than just the kill. You want it to mean more. Because best is not just coolest. What sets this whole film apart from the previous two is that it's not just a string of fights and kills with no meaning behind them. This fight in particular, and this kill, is the best in part because of the story it finishes. Bihan had murdered Hanzo's family in cold blood, and Hanzo had risen from the dead, from the depths of the underworld, to take his revenge. It's the triumph of his bloodline that Sub-Zero thought he'd extinguished.
I think the Mortal Kombat movies live and die specifically on the kills themselves. It's why they fight. The actual moments of commitment that you have to these movies are based off the kills themselves. That's why you want this brutality, something that gets you so excited and cheering. And that's why my epically gory, brutal, creative kill where a character is split in half and has the flawless victory, referencing the game itself, is so good compared to your fight, which is, the story leading up to that is fine to that. But the problem with that one, your kill, I think, is actually very lackluster compared to what it could have been. That's the final kill of the movie, and it's just not great. Scorpion, you're right. He burns. That's it. He gets lit on fire. That's it. And it doesn't even seem that final because they seem like they want to bring Sub-Zero back for the next movie. So the fact that it's such a lackluster little kill itself, I think, eliminates it from the best kill conversation. And where my kill is such a finality, brutal epicness that makes it better.
The problem is, it is best kill. It is not most creative kill. It's not the goriest kill. Because yes, yours has those things. It is cool, it is gory, it is bloody. But the question is the best kill. And what makes it best is more to it. There's gotta be meaning behind it, which makes it best. Mine has emotional weight to it. Mine has more meaning to it. The kill itself has more things behind it. It caps off an epic fight that begins with the classic "Get over here," as Scorpion getting stabbed in the knife made of his own frozen blood. And everything in that fight builds to that kill and makes it more satisfying, more meaningful. It makes the audience cheer that much more because it's not just, oh, here's just a cool brief scene. It's got more than that.
I think the meaning to it behind that gets you committed into the fight is these characters doing really cool, really creative things with the weapons that they have. I think that's what gets the audience to commit to it. And that's what makes mine the best kill itself, because this is what turns Kung Lao into like a standout character in this movie, is using his weapon creatively and awesomely. The fact that it's like, oh, you have a great fight before your kill, I guess is fine. But the problem with the thing with like your fight before that is you have the wet blanket Cole Young, who is also a major part of your fight. And he is a potato of a character who is part of that fight and And part of that kill and part of that thing, which I think drags that down completely because he is the worst. Mine is 2 actual iconic Mortal Kombat characters going at it with bird wings flying at it and razor hats and reaching a very natural conclusion that I think gets you more committed into this as a best kill than anything than some, I don't know, kind of lame half-ass revenge story between Scorpion and Sub-Zero that I don't think is fleshed out because Scorpion is gone for like the whole movie. It's all Cole Young.
It's Cole Young defending the whole bloodline, and you open the door on this whole meaningless character thing. Natara is a D-list character at best that even most people who've played the game have never heard of. And it was the death of a nothing character. And it wasn't like they took this obscure character and built her up in the movie. We hadn't seen her do anything. She showed up, flew in, and immediately got killed. Was it gory? Yes. Was it creative? Absolutely. But it wasn't a payoff to anything. It was anticlimactic. Calling the death of her the best kill is like saying the death of some random stormtrooper or a Star Trek red shirt was the best kill. Not to mention, instead of seeing a kill in a great scene featuring Hiroyuki Sanada and Joe Taslim, we're watching Max Twang and Melanie Jarnson. Who the fuck are these people? The characters are nothing. The actors are nothing. There's nothing to the kill except a cool moment, but it's not coolest kill.
The characters are not nothing in this movie. The characters are their iconic sort of styles.
What did Natara do in the movie?
You have somebody. Natara is the enemy itself. She represents a monster creature who this Kung Lao has to fight. And yes, Natara does get the short end of the stick in terms of character development, but she is killed in such a brutal way that builds Kung Lao up into such an epic way, which makes his death just a few minutes later even more sad because now we're committed to Kung Lao himself. And watching him just brutally rip her apart creatively in the blood splatter everywhere, I just think is what we want from a Mortal Kombat movie instead of a lackluster fire breathing. I can see people get lit on fire a bunch in a bunch of different movies, and that's why it's such a lame ending to such. You said this is such an iconic build up to a fight. Let that kill actually be better because it's not. It's very lame and subdued because I think they want to bring Sub-Zero back for the second movie, so that's why it doesn't feel very final. Where mine is such a finality awesomeness to it that gives it such an epic sort of brutality that we want from Mortal Kombat.
Yes, but if all you want is creativity and brutality, then I mean, this you really basically want what the first 2 movies were, just with an R rating. It's like even in 1985 and 1907 movies, they were awful. They were able to shoehorn in, certain poses and lines and the fatalities, and they were kills, but there's nothing to them. You just want that, but with a little more blood because it's an R-rated version of it.
I disagree.
that was after the countdown.
That was after. Okay, strike that.
Strike it for the record. Okay, we're gonna go to Jacoby first. Jacoby, you get 1 minute to close when you start talking.
Kung Lao has a signature weapon that's completely ludicrous. It's a razor hat. And the reason he gets the best kill in the Mortal Kombat movie is because he does something incredibly fun with it. He's fighting an enemy that would normally be pretty hard to beat, a big bird demon, but he jumps on that bird, plants his spinning hat, razor hat strategically, and then drives Natara into it where she splits apart like some sort of raw turkey meat in a shredder. It's gnarly, it's over the top, and it feels like something you would see in a Mortal Kombat game itself. Brian says that there's no character moment to that, but I disagree because it gives Kung Lao a victory, which makes him such a likable character. You're rooting for him now because he did something that you want from Mortal Kombat, which is such an epic kill of self. It makes every other kill, I think, in that movie feel like a loss of potential, especially that Scorpion versus Sub-Zero fight. That's the final kill of the movie, and it should be more epic, but it's so average and lame. Brian builds up the lead up to that and why it's so satisfying, but the satisfaction should at least end in an epic sort of kill instead of Scorpion just lowering his mask and breathing fire until Scorpion falls over dead to come back for the next movie. It's so lame to that, where it's such a brutal, epic Mortal Kombat-esque game kill.
I'd do it a kill. Strike it for the record. Let's go to Brian. Brian, you have 1 minute to close when you start talking.
Again, the question is, what is the best kill? Not the coolest, not the goriest, the best. The best cool kill is Sub-Zero's death because it is cool looking and gruesome watching his flesh burn away. And it is cool seeing Scorpion's skull face revealed. But it's also the best because the meaning and story behind the kill. It is a satisfying and emotional kill because Hanzo has avenged the murder of his wife and child. He's worked with his descendant Cole to defeat the one who sought to end his bloodline. The story involved, the far better actors involved, the fact that it is the climax to an incredible final fight gives this kill weight and excitement beyond just looking cool and makes the audience cheer because of who is getting killed. It makes a difference. It's not just nobody character. Kung Lao killing Natara was a fun, gory moment, but the kill lacked any substance beyond that. It was just an immediate death of a nobody character with nothing building up to it. It's a kill with no meaning, no consequences. It's just there to be gory and cool, which it was, but that doesn't make it the best. The moment Scorpion takes out Sub-Zero is the climax of the whole story and the best kill in the Mortal Kombat franchise to date.
Ooh. All right. Let's bring in the judges.
My marker is dead.
That's a problem.
I'll write it for him.
Fatality. This one's not. This one is also dead.
Oh my God! Throw away your dead markers.
Sometimes they got a little bit of life in them, and you don't want to like.
Are you 3 for 3 on dead markers?
This is just a cruel prank that Anna's playing on.
There we go. Yeah, literally. She's just okay.
All right. I'm going first. You're good, Javi. Are you ready? Okay. Good start, as we thought would be with the two people here today. Both painted a really good picture of their scenes, explain to me why their kill is great and what is good about them. Jacoby went from a more like visual standpoint. Brian brought in like the story and the actors and the drama and stuff in it as well. So it was a good mix from different sides. I ultimately went with Jacoby. I think I was on Team Brian actually for most of it, and the last like minute of the fight, Jacoby really sold me on why his scene was epic and awesome and the best, and also why Brian's might be good for the story and everything, but the actual kill itself is anticlimactic. Nick, do you agree with me, or do you not agree with me?
I agree with you. I was swayed both ways at different points throughout the fight. And ultimately, the crux of Brian's argument was that the story leading up to it is what makes the kill great, which can be true. But I think Jacoby dismantled that a little with like the wet blanket Cole Young. And like, we haven't seen Scorpion the whole movie. So unless you're a fan of the games, it's not the best kill in the movie. So that's why I went that way.
Okay, Javi, your vote doesn't count. Where would you have gone and why? You are muted.
Gotcha. Yep. Realized that when it showed up saying I was muted. I went with I liked what Jacoby said about the wet blanket Cole Young, as Nick said, because I completely forgot he was even in that scene. It was incredible that it just blanked my mind entirely. I did go with Brian though. I don't know if you can see that. There it is. Man, I need to get a darker marker. I think the context just added more to it. As someone who's just not a fan of the games, like I just didn't realize how much of a context there was. He really painted a picture of the importance of that kill. The flashback scene helped also, but it was, as not a fan of the games, it helped me visualize the kill and why it meant more. I went with Brian.
All right. Well,
Jacoby stole my pick.
That's why we have three so we're going to move on to the next question. Jacoby is up 1-0. The next question, though, was drafted by Jacoby in the category of directors. The question is, which David Fincher character has the saddest ending to their story? Jacoby, we're going to kick this one off with you. You have 1 minute when you start talking.
So I took this question in an interesting way. I think from an objective perspective, Desi from Gone Girl has the saddest end to his story. Yes, Desi is a bit of a creep, and I'm not excusing his behavior, but track this with me. He dates amazing Amy in high school, where presumably, and it's hinted at, she does the same manipulation and reputation ruining that she does with Ben Affleck and that she did with Scoot McNairy in the movie. But then for 20 years, Amy more or less keeps him on the hook. She still writes him letters, and he writes her, and she responds to his letters, and I think ruins ruins his chances of being a functioning, well-adjusted adult, even though he's rich. He's still just kept enthralled by Amy. Then Amy comes to him for help, and she further manipulates him to the point where he thinks he's gotten everything he wants. And right at the moment where he thinks he can be the most happiest he's ever been, he finally has the girl who's been stringing him along for 20 years. She murders him brutally, then frames him as a kidnapper and a rapist where, yeah, he may not have been the best guy, but now he's dead and forever tarnished, because guess what? She gets away with it at the end. The bad guy essentially is, in a way, wins that movie where there's no shot of redemption. I think that's the saddest end to any character within a David Fincher movie, because there's no hope or anything beyond that, because he is basically tarred and feathered for like the rest of his life with no shot.
Okay, we're gonna move over to Brian. Brian, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
David Fincher is not a happy endings kind of guy. Pretty much everyone in his film ends up in varying degrees of miserable, but which of his characters is the saddest ending to their story? That distinction goes to David Mills, Brad Pitt's character in Seven. Mills starts on a positive note. He and his wife just moved to the city with his 2 dogs. He's an ambitious young detective who had requested a transfer from a more peaceful precinct because he wanted to make a difference. And he was immediately given a high-profile case of a serial killer. But things end tragically for David. In the final moments of his story, he gets to hear how John Doe, a man he had twice almost had in his grasp, had gotten into his home, abused his wife all day as she begged for her life before cutting off her head, boxing it up, and having it delivered to David by a courier. To further traumatize him, it's only at this moment he finds out that Tracy was pregnant with his unborn child, who is also now dead. He then takes out his anguish and anger by killing John Doe, which not only ensures that his career is over and he's going to prison, but he has also helped complete Doe's masterpiece and let him win. He has lost everything, and he has to live the rest of his life remembering it. I'm good.
Okay. All right. Wow. Depression. Okay. I did it. I did it. Whatever. Okay. 5 minutes when one of you starts talking.
Hey, okay, look, what happens to Mills is awful, but hear me out here. Seven actually ends as a really hopeful movie. His story, Mills' story, isn't over when he finds his wife's head in the box or when he exacts revenge on John Doe's. It ends with him in the police car and the police sergeant or whatever saying that they are going to look after him and take care of him. And now Somerset has regained hope, and it ends with the belief that light can triumph over dark. So although it's sadness, I think the idea is that, like, ultimately we can overcome this darkness together. Compare that to Desi, who's murdered by the woman he thought loved him, then blamed for horrendous things, and then his killer gets away with it. Like, that's it. There's no hope for any sort of thing for Desi's sort of change in the future.
First of all, any argument you have to start out with, hear me out, tells me you're fighting an uphill battle right here. Okay. So, and yes, they say they're going to help. They're going to take care of David, but they, I mean, as far as like maybe some, therapy, things like that. But Mills is certainly going to jail for murder. Doe was unarmed. He was handcuffed. He was on his knees. Suspect or not, no jury is going to find that justified. He's going to jail. And if he ever gets out, he'll no longer be a cop. He'll be alone, no career, no family. He's lost everything. Now, as far as Desi, first of all, Desi had it pretty good. He actually died at his peak. At the end of his story, he's mega rich. He's happy. He's finally living with the woman he's been in love with and obsessing with for 20 years. And in his final moments, he's even having sex with her. If you'd have offered him that deal anytime in the last 20 years, he'd probably have taken it.
Are you kidding? Are you kidding me? He died. She's murdered by her horribly and then tarred and feathered as a kidnapper and a rapist for that. And then she gets away with it at the end.
That's sad because he's not there to even know that.
And that's still the saddest end to his story, because that's the finality of it. There is no shot of anything, as opposed to Mills, where he said, like, he has nobody. He has Somerset. He has the police department backing him because they tell him that they are going to do that they are going to take care of him. And, after everything you described for all the horrible things that happened to Mills, who had it much worse? Tracy. Tracy is the one who was pregnant, who was tortured, who was beheaded, and was put in the box. She has a much sadder ending to her story, who's Mills, who has some chance of finding some sort of redemption in the future, as opposed to Desi, who is done and cut and over, finality, and Amy wins at the end.
You know what's worse than being dead? Being alive, knowing that your wife and children were dead. You helped play a part in completing this masterpiece, and now you have to live with that guilt, with that anguish for the rest of your life. That's all you're going to be thinking about. I can't feel bad for Desi because he's not a sympathetic guy. You said you don't excuse it, but you can't just gloss over that, because we know that when she dumped him back in school, he unraveled, stalked her, threatened her, attempted suicide in her bed. Okay. And in the present, he's just as creepy. As far as Desi knows, this woman's been through major trauma. And what does he do? He uses the opportunity to try and move in on her. And his first concerns for her this presumed abuse victim is that he wants to worry about her looks. He tells her she needs to go back to the gym and lose that extra weight that she's gained. She needs to put on some makeup, fix her hair, and start shave her legs again, start looking nicer because he wants to make her his little wife in his little story.
But because it's implied that Amy has kept him around his finger for 20 years. For 20 years, she has kept him there as always an option. If someone like, maybe there's a chance, maybe this is, you should do that. So of course, when Amy is to him and she's not herself, yes, Desi wants her to get back to what he is. Again, he's a bad guy. That's fine. And he's a bit of a creep. But does the creep deserve to be murdered brutally, throat cut during sex, called a rapist, called a kidnapper, ruin everything, and have no shot of any sort of redemption? Like, no, that's the saddest end to his story that you could possibly have. Whereas Mills's end to his story hints at something bigger, that there is a way out of it, that the light can triumph over darkness. Yeah, the guilt of what is happening is going to be tough on him to that. But because he has the support system of Somerset, who says like he will be there whenever he needs, that I will be there for him because he has regained his hope, then that actually is not the saddest end to the story. It is sad, yes, but not the saddest end.
You're projecting this story that you've made up after this movie ends, because David Fincher movies do not end hopeful. This movie does not end hopeful. Just because they say, we'll be there for him, give him what he needs, that does not mean that it's going to make his life all happy. He's going to get over it. He's going to go on and be happy. This man is going to be miserable for the rest of his life. He basically played a part in this thing, and his wife is dead. His unborn child's dead. Even his 2 dogs were presumably killed because this killer spent the day in his house abusing his wife, physically, probably sexually, while she begged for her life. Those dogs were just considered to watch it. And I doubt they died quickly because serial killers like to torture animals too.
What? Okay, first of all, okay, you are describing why Tracy has a horrible end to the story. I agree with you there. That is a very sad end.
And he has to live with that knowledge.
Yes, live with it. Yeah, but he's fine. He's young. He's Brad Pitt. He's a cop who has learned that he is always committed, that he can get past this, that yes, he committed, he hit his lowest point here, but there's a chance because of what we've seen from his movie beforehand of how tenacious he is and how committed he is to that I think that he can come out of it. And the fact that you said that the movie is not hopeful, the last line of 7 is that this world is worth fighting for. The people, it means that the people are worth fighting for itself. Whereas Desi's story, the bad person wins absolutely indefinitely, no matter what.
All right. Woo-hoo! We're going to go to Brian first. Brian, 1 minute to close when you start talking.
Every debate, there's always one pick that baffles me, and today it's this pick of Desi as the saddest ending. First of all, his ending isn't even sad. He died, yes, everyone dies. But he gets to go out on top, literally, having sex with a woman he's been in love with for decades. He went out rich, happy, and fucking. Not a bad way to go. And because of his actions, both seen in the film and the ones referred to from the past, you feel no sympathy for this character. He's a pretty slimy guy, so it's hard to feel sad for him. The ending of David Mills' story is as sad as you get. He experiences the most tragic, horrific day of his life, where he loses everything, including his wife and child. But he doesn't get the luxury of death. He was going to live on the rest of his life, much of it in prison, alone, with nothing but time to replay the thoughts of his wife's horrific final hours as he wallows in anguish, sorrow, and guilt, as well as the knowledge that John Doe won, and David played a part in it. His story would have been less sad if he himself had died. Living with this extreme loss, grief, and guilt is far worse than death.
What was that line? Rich, happy, and fucking? What did you say? Oh my God. All right, Jacoby. Jacoby, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
Okay, the saddest ending to their story is such an interesting question. And I do really think it's really Desi from an objective standpoint. Sure, Desi is a bit of a creep, but what happens to him at the end of his story is the worst. Brutally and painfully murdered by the woman he loved by getting his throat slashed. It doesn't count, Brian. He didn't go out on top. Like, literally, that's a horrible way to die. And for anything, by the woman who he thought he could love and who he finally had back in his grasp after 20 years of being manipulated by him. And then he has his reputation totally destroyed, totally tarnished. She's labeled a rapist and a kidnapper, and then there's no real justice because the person who did it comes out looking like a hero of the story. She gets away with it. Desi's name is ruined forever. Too bad that, yeah, Mills does live at the end of the movie and he has to live with the guilt, but Desi's name forever is dead, and I think that's a much sadder ending than what happens with Mills, because yes, Mills is alive at the end, but he does have the police who say that they're going to take care of him. He does have Somerset who says he will do whatever he wants for him. Tracy has the much sadder end to her story rather than Mills, who has more hope. Desi's is so sad.
God, I love bullies so much. Oh my God. Oh man. that was gold. That was everything I wanted. Oh.
I love when his first line is "Hear me out." I'm like, here, we're in for a fun one now.
Yeah.
Hear me out.
Why not? I answered the question.
All right, Nick, you look good. Javi, are you ready?
Yeah.
Nick, you also
Nick
look
look good.
ready. Yeah, that's
You.
what I would say. Yeah, Nick, you look great. Javi, you are starting first.
Interesting. I have not seen any of these movies.
Javi.
Because I don't do things that aren't fandom apparently.
So
Except
spoilers.
for like Hacksaw Ridge and Step Brothers. But
Two of Nick's favorites.
Agreed.
This was tough. Because which one is... All right, I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off. I went with Brian again. Solely because he illustrated better that, like, yeah, this Desi character has a rough life, or sorry, rough death. But he also illustrated that it's like, well, it's sort of a comeuppance for him. Like, it's not like it was like, oh, come on, not Desi, good old Desi, as opposed to Mills, who it's like, yeah, he's trying to hunt down the serial killer, and his reward for eventually catching him, is my understanding from this argument, is his wife is dead and abused. It's like, and it's also kind of his fault. That just swayed me more. That's just a way worse way. Like, that would eat me up if that was me, as opposed to if I was dead. I was like, yeah, I don't know. Like, I was kind of a creep, it turns out. So I don't know. That's what I went with.
Yeah, listen, this was phenomenal. I think that Jacoby did have the uphill battle, because while I agree, when writing the question, I was like, a lot of these movies have sad endings. And then Brian said his answer, and I went, fuck, that is objectively the correct answer. What is Jacoby going to do? I thought he did a great job. Like, he really painted a really good picture, and I love Gone Girl. That's probably my second favorite Fincher movie. Like, I really like that movie, so I know that character really well, and I think that he did a good job. But I thought that Brian just did a masterful job explaining. Now, Jacoby, even... It's not a super knock against him because Brian didn't say it, but he spent a bit of time kind of being like, well, the sadder ending is Gwyneth Paltrow is the wife then. And I'm like, well, then why didn't you pick that, Jacoby? Like, so it wasn't necessarily a point against him, but I did think that Brian just did a really strong job of taking down that argument, but also really propelling everything throughout the movie of why his choice was correct. So, Nick, your vote doesn't count. Where would you have gone and why?
Kobe, I heard you out, and I was impressed with how far up the hill you climbed. But yeah, I gave it to Brian.
That's fair. That's
All
fair.
right. So, great.
I want to give a shout out. I like Rue actually suggested that first as like someone you could pick, and so I got to give credit to Rue to be like, maybe try that. I'm like, okay, sure, let's try something a little different there.
Let's shake it up.
Yeah.
All right, guys, your next question is going to be was drafted by Brian in the category of actors and actresses. Your question is, who is the best actress working today? It's a fun question. Interesting. Lots of choices. Lots of people working today. So we're going to start off with Brian. Brian, you get 1 minute when you start talking.
So Cate Blanchett has had a phenomenal career spanning 30 years and shows no signs of stopping. In that time, she's proven again and again her talent, her versatility, her range, her mastery of the art of acting. She's an 8-time Oscar nominee with a few wins in there, in addition to countless awards from other organizations. She's made her mark in every genre, from fantasy films like Lord of the Rings to prestige dramas like Tar or Elizabeth, to animation and family and comedy. She elevates every project she's in, whether she's creating one of the MCU's best and most interesting villains as Hela, or in an experimental indie film like I'm Not There, where she played Bob Dylan. That is how versatile she is. Hell, there's one lesser-known film she did in 2015 called Manifesto, where she played 13 distinct roles, ranging from a homeless man to a choreographer to a tattooed punk to a scientist. She is a chameleon, disappearing into every role like it's second nature to her. Every major director lines up to work with her, from Fincher to Del Toro, Scorsese, Peter Jackson, Wes Anderson, Soderbergh. The list goes on and on. She is quite simply the most talented actress working today, judging from her level of talent, her versatility, and what she can do with any role she is given.
Okay. All right, we're going to move over to Jacoby. Jacoby, you have 1 minute to open your argument when you start talking.
I think we picked the two right answers for this one, but I do really believe Emma Stone is the best actress working today. I think she is the only actress who can consistently operate in every single genre successfully. I think more than any other actress, Emma Stone can always adapt perfectly to the tone and rhythm of whatever project she's in and make it better. Yorgos Lanthimos is one of the weirdest off-kilter directors working today, and there's a reason he keeps using Emma Stone, because she understands and excels at bringing his strange tone to life. And you would think that would put her in a box, but no. But like, even just between Oscar-nominated performances for Lanthimos films, she can turn around and do a mainstream Zombieland comedy, do a great voice performance like in The Croods, and then surprise everyone by making the Disney villain origin story Cruella, which should have been awful, made that really solid based off her performance. She's great at dramatic in all types of comedies, in superhero movies, in everything. Again, she can always adapt so easily to whatever the project requires of her to do to get on its same wavelength and tone, and that's why I just think she is the best actress working today.
Jesus Christ, you two are very good at this. Okay, 5-minute freeform when one of you starts talking.
Emma Stone is no doubt a talented actress, and she's on a trajectory to someday get there, but she's just not yet in the same league as Cate Blanchett. She doesn't have the range or ability to disappear into a role like Kate does. Most movies are just Emma being variations of Emma. Even you mentioned The Croods, was just basically Emma playing herself, just an animated film. She basically has two modes. There's like the goofy fun Emma, and there's the mopey drama Emma. And she has like she basically only does like two voices, two characters. She has a normal American, and she occasionally does like a stuffy British, whereas Cate Blanchett has mastered the subtleties of different countries, playing German, Irish, Scottish, British, Australian, American, where she has portrayed multiple dialects from 1800s frontier to mid-20th century Southerners to modern Manhattan socialite, and most impressively as Katharine Hepburn with her distinct New England voice, all with perfection.
Yes. Yeah, see, but even with all those dialects, I still think Cate Blanchett is great at playing these classy, elegant, mysterious women, and that's a phenomenal actress. But I think most of the time, she really just plays great, classy, elegant, mysterious women. She's great at playing great women, troubled geniuses, and women who like to like stare into your souls, and that's a great aura to have. And she's the best at that one particular thing over anybody else, hands down. But not really enough to give her the title of best actress working today. I really don't think she fits in to every project that she does seamlessly, and when she like tries to do something kind of bigger or better, something like the recent Borderlands, like it's absolute garbage. Whereas Emma Stone, I do think she can do anything and has proved how well she works in all genres by bending into it. Cate Blanchett is so even in the superhero role, you mentioned Hella in there, she plays the Shakespearean Cate Blanchett character, as opposed to like Emma Stone's superhero role, she disappears inside the role of Gwen Stacy. I think that's the difference between our two actresses, and that's why Emma Stone is better.
You're talking about how she always plays this one kind of role. You're ignoring large swaths of her filmography, where she's playing a rancher on a frontier in the 1800s in The Missing, when she's playing excuse me, when she's playing a psychic in the middle of the poor South in The Gift. There's so many more roles where she's not just playing that same role. Like you talked about Bob Dylan, even things like that. And you brought up Borderlands earlier, and I thought it was coming, but I knew it was coming. The thing is, even when she appears in movies that aren't great, sometimes she does these less prestigious things just to do something fun, whether it be that or Indiana Jones. I'm sure he'll bring up that too. She is the best thing in those movies. She is never the problem with those movies. She classes them up and gives them what entertainment value they do have. So you can't blame her for Borderlands, because she was still just having fun playing that character. And you cannot ignore the same things that are all over Emma Stone's filmography. Things like Marmaduke, Aloha of all things, movie 43. Cate Blanchett wasn't in that one. Gangster Squad. I mean, come on.
You can name all the movies one once, but I'm talking about what they actually do in these roles itself. Because Emma Stone, which I think she does have over Cate Blanchett, Emma Stone is wickedly funny. I think that is something that is not talked about enough, about how great her timing is and what her delivery. And her great timing and impeccableness makes her adapt to any sort of comedy that she wants to do, as well as that timing allows her to do any sort of dramatic roles. You said that Emma Stone isn't what Cate Blanchett could be like right now, and she said she could get there. Yeah, but I do think Emma Stone could do Tar in another 15 years. Cate Blanchett, where she plays another, genius struggling and a great woman itself. But Cate Blanchett could never have done Easy A, Crazy Stupid Love, or even La La Land to that, because Kate Blanchett, the movie has to form around her elegance and her genius and her toughness to it, because she's such a great personality around that. Where Emma Stone, yeah, she can muck it up into like lesser projects, like even like Aloha and Marmaduke, but she still makes those projects excel because she knows what that project is asking for and is able to do that and deliver. And she's able to adapt to that in a way that Kate Blanchett has never been able to do. You form your movies around Kate Blanchett's persona, and it's great. And she's so great at that one persona itself and the magnificence of Kate Blanchett. But I think the best actress needs to actually to morph around and to actually commit to what the directors and writers and stuff and the project are asking for. Sorry, I talked a lot.
And that's what Kate Blanchett does. She is the one who does morph around. She is the chameleon who disappears into roles. Emma Stone, like I said, basically has just a couple different versions of Emma Stone that she does. You talk about her comedy. Yes, that's half of her roles are her doing her great comedy, which she is very good at. And then you mentioned, I believe the quote was, in 15 years, she could do something like Tar. I agree. In 15 years, she might be ready for that. Right now, she hasn't done that. We aren't thinking about what they're doing in the future. We are saying working today, who is the best actor working today? And Kate Blanchett has reached this level that Emma Stone might be headed for, but she is not there yet.
I only said she can't do Tar right now because Tar is about an older conductor, where that's why it needs to form around Kate Blanchett exactly who she is right now. I believe that Emma Stone can reach that when she reaches the proper age, because I think Emma Stone can do anything, as apart from even great award-winning dramas like Tar, to mucking it up in like Easy A, where she is hilarious, Crazy Stupid Love, which is a fantastic rom-com, or even La La Land, where you feel the heart and the expression and the emotion around that to make it so beautiful and so great. Kate Blanchett is Kate Blanchett. She is such a mighty presence that's so different,
Exactly.
that so stands.
Okay. Jacoby, we're gonna start with you. 1 minute.
I do think Emma Stone is the best actress working today. I think she consistently challenges herself in a wide variety of different genres and roles and absolutely nails every single one of them. She has a gift of getting on the right wavelength of whatever project that she is working on. And she has this very special timing, as I mentioned, where she can make almost any funny line land or any dramatic moment have enough head. Can Kate Blanchett be funny? I don't actually think so. I think she's usually the cold stone, like serious person within the very kind of funny projects. I think I think Emma Stone is funny because her timing is impeccable and just like unmatched. Kate Blanchett is the best actress playing Kate Blanchett-esque characters like Tar, like a lot of the movies that Brian mentioned, where it's like a troubled genius or someone a great, powerful woman. Like, admittedly, in that realm, she cannot be touched. But movies have to bend around the Kate Blanchett persona more than Kate Blanchett tries to match the movie's vibes. And that's why I think Emma Stone is the overall better actress. The best actress and actors take the material and adapt to whatever the script in the movie wants. Emma Stone does that. Kate Blanchett does not.
We're going to go over to Brian. Brian, you have 1 minute when you start talking.
Emma Stone has broken out as one of the most promising actresses of her generation, but she just isn't yet at the level of Kate Blanchett. She doesn't have the breadth and, more importantly, the depth of performance that Kate has in her extensive filmography. And she hasn't proven to have the same versatility interacting the way Kate Blanchett does. The projects bend around Kate Blanchett because they know she'll be the best thing about that movie, interacting ability. Emma Stone is the one who's basically playing herself, or a couple variations of herself in all her movies, as good as that may be. Kate disappears into every role, whether it be the Queen of England or Rancher on the Frontier, Katharine Hepburn or Bob Dylan, while Emma Stone is playing variations on herself or using the one British character archetype she has in her arsenal. Kate's directors and co-stars know what a talent she is. Awards bodies consistently recognize her performances. Audiences know what amazing actress she is. Even Jacoby acknowledges this in his review of Where'd You Go, Bernadette, I think it was, where he said, quote, "Fantastic Kate Blanchett performance, per usual." Per usual is right, because every time out, Kate Blanchett is going to give a fantastic performance. She's not only the best actress working today, but long after she decides to retire, she'll be remembered as one of the all-time best.
Time to pull up a Where'd You Go, Bernadette review. That is commitment to the game right there. That movie sucks. She's great. But the movie is, who directed? Was that Linklater?
That's the Linklater movie, yeah.
That's crazy to me, man. Shit.
I think this is my most fun debate yet.
It's just really good. Like
It's
I
fun.
hate to be like a little hyperbolic, but this is like really good, guys. You guys are great.
We'll bomb the last question just to
Great,
just to spice
perfect.
things up.
Please bring it down to a normal level for me.
Go ahead
Guys.
and bomb it. I'm gonna.
Okay, you'll do okay.
Nick, we are kicking it off with you, my friend.
Yes. I don't believe either of them. They're both liars.
Oh,
they both just tried to paint the other one as either a one or two trick pony, and I just don't think either of them truly believe that about the other one.
oh
And I don't believe that about either actress, that they're just a one or two trick pony. But the one who sold me on it a little bit more, listen, like the Oscars, the accolades all lead to a great actress, but like what convinces me of who, oh, I was frozen for a second. What convinces me of like best actor or actress is like versatility and like, can they be in a comedy and be in this, like versatility in film genre, not necessarily in characters. Because yes, I believe Cate Blanchett has played more than just like the Queen Regal. I voted for Jacoby Mugatu. That was Zoolander. Okay, great.
I get it. Yeah.
Yeah. So like Jacoby convinced me just a little bit more that Cate Blanchett is stuck in a archetype, or stuck in a what's the word when you play the same character over and over again?
Stereotype.
Yeah. Jacoby convinced me more of that of Cate Blanchett than Brian did of Emma Stone, though I believe neither of them, but that's why I gave Jacoby the point.
Javi.
Yeah, I also went with Jacoby. Just because I think he painted a better picture of Emma Stone can fold into her movies more depending on what it requires, as opposed to Cate Blanchett, who usually plays much more. And I also don't fully believe this, but it is much more like, even in the MCU, where it's like much more funny and goofy, it's like, who is she playing? She's playing the goddess of death, very Shakespearean. So I just felt like, yeah, I don't know. Emma Stone does do comedy probably better. It just folds into certain things. Yorgos Lanthimos is, from what I understand, a very odd director, and the fact that it's just he's bringing in Emma Stone all the time makes sense. So, yeah, I went with Jacoby.
Okay, my vote doesn't count. I also went Jacoby. This is one of the closer fights I've had the pleasure of being a part of recently. Brian almost had me. They were neck and neck the whole time. So almost had me, didn't almost have me. They both almost had me the whole time. I thought Brian's hit of like, you just said it yourself, like her in 15 years, like that was super strong. And I was like, Brian. And then Jacoby was like, I'm saying that part demands like this. And then he brought in other supporting arguments. And then I was like, Jacoby. And it was literally like a back and forth the whole time. But I agree with my co-judges. Jacoby was just barely able to tell me why Emma Stone was able to just be more expansive in her skill than Cate Blanchett. And if I was going based on my personal opinion, I agree with Brian, but based on the argument, I gave it to Jacoby. So that being
Typecasting was the word I was looking for.
Oh, that's fair. That's fair. All right. We are going to the final prep question. You've only won each other's so far, so that's fun. Brian or Jacoby is up 2-1 as we get into the final prep question. So Brian needs to hit this in order to send it to the bonus. Your question is, in the category of Law and Order. Sorry, in the category of Law and Order. Who is the coolest character in a Law and Order film? All right, Jacoby, you're going to kick this one off. You got 1 minute when you start talking.
Hans Gruber is the coolest character in a Law and Order film. In Die Hard, John McClane is a scruffy, crass, everyday man, and one of the reasons the film is so successful is because it pits him against the coolest man alive. The movie does not work if Hans isn't cool, and he is. Yes, he's obviously a bad guy, but his sense of style and charm and voice allows him to command a room. He's cool in his composure and demeanor in all situations, from asking Takagi about his nice suits all the way to announcing to the rest of the employees that Takagi won't be joining them for the rest of his life. He is so cool that it's so easy for everyone to think he's some elegant, world-class terrorist with lofty aspirations, when we all know he's just a common thief. But his poise and elegance and handling of the entire situation, even when some rude prick from New York is messing up his plans, has everybody in awe. Everything from his character design to the performance by Rickman to his actions to his countering with the main character makes Hans Gruber the coolest character in a Law and Order film.
Time. Okay. We are going to bring in Brian. Brian, you have 1 minute to open your argument when you start talking.
Mike Lowry, as portrayed by Will Smith in the Bad Boys franchise, is the epitome of cool. On the superficial level, he oozes cool. He has the most fashionable clothes, from his high-end suits to his casual attire, the best-dressed character in any Law & Order film. He drives the hottest cars, Porsches and Ferraris. He has a series of huge, spacious dream condos with beautiful views from the heart of Miami. In a city already considered one of the coolest, he stands out at the top as the top of them all. His wealth allows him to have all these cool things. But his coolness goes beyond appearances and possessions. He is dripping with charm and an insane level of charisma, and is as popular as you can be with women. He always has snappy, witty dialogue, and his humor just adds to his coolness and charm. And when the situation calls for it, he can kick some serious ass as well. Beyond even that, though, he is cool because first and foremost is his loyalty and devotion to his friends and family. He is fiercely protective of his loved ones and will do anything to support and protect them. That is cool. Mike Lowry is cool on every level you could judge on, and he's really cool, whereas Hans Rickman's is all a facade, which I'll get into later.
Okay. Ooh, shots already fired. 5-minute freeform. One of you starts talking.
What I find interesting about, especially Mike Lowry in that Bad Boy first movie, is that his coolness is presented as almost laughable. Like his cool demeanor and facade that he puts on for himself, where he buys the $100,000 car. The first thing that pointed out, like, this car is actually really fucking stupid because it doesn't have any cup holders. The fact that he has like pictures of himself over everything, and he's such a prima donna when it comes to his appearance, to everything about his lifestyle. It's like he's putting on this persona of cool that like he wants to exude out there into the world, which I actually think the movie kind of comments about that he's not as cool as he thinks he is. Whereas Hans Gruber himself, he commands a room with such style and grace and elegance, where I just think Hans Gruber is the much cooler character in everything that he does.
So apparently it'd be cooler if you had cup holders. Got it. Okay. And I'm pretty sure they never say that he's not cool in those movies. But I will say, okay, you know I love Die Hard. Everyone knows I love Die Hard. But this isn't about which film you like more, whether you like or dislike Die Hard or Bad Boys. Hans Gruber is one of the greatest villains and greatest characters ever. But what I can't get on board with, though, is saying he's cool. He's intelligent, he's cunning, he's manipulative. Alan Rickman's voice is perfect. Hans dresses the part, though judging by photos of him that the FBI shows, he's not always such a cool dresser. But the thing is, Gruber's coolness is nothing but a facade. His look is a facade, his demeanor is a facade, his plan is a facade. None of it's real. You said yourself, you said that he's putting on this big act. He's not a terrorist looking to support some noble cause. He has no ideology. He's just a selfish thief looking for a payday, has no problem using hostages as murder and mere tools to achieve his personal gain. Killing people, including pregnant women, for money, not cool.
I just think it's a weird that what the Hills. You said the coolest thing about Mike Lowry is how he cares about his friends and family. Like, that's what makes a character cool. Like I disagree about like what the coolness is. The coolness is the attitude that you exude the moment that you walk onto screen, and the moment that Hans Gruber walks out of that ambulance surrounded by his people with his cool ass style and cool ass control of the room itself. The way that he can bounce in between like his very seriousness of playing with the cops, but then like turning and be like, yeah, I think I read about them in Times of everything. It's like, yes, the coolness persona that he has is a natural part of him, but it's because he is so cool that everyone is willing to believe that he is just this lofty aspiration of like a terrorist when really he just wants to steal. It's because his coolness allows him to do what he wants to do and command every situation. And the movie knows he's cool around that and shoots him as a cool, especially in counterance to John McClane, who is seen as like the anti-cool sort of character. Whereas Mike, the Bad Boys movie itself tries to ram it down your face that like everything about this movie is so loud, everything about this this movie is so cool. Mike Lowry, isn't he great? But then it makes fun of him for everything that he does, about how prissy he is when it comes to like his style and his sense of everything. And yeah, Will Smith does have a lot of charisma, but I think Alan Rickman matches that 100%.
They make fun of him for his coolness because they want to be cool. It's in this city, in this Miami, in this film that you talked about, Michael Bay, where everything wants to be so cool. He is the coolest thing about it. The thing is, and excuse me, you said that Alan Rickman or that Hans Gruber, he comes out, he exudes, he puts forth this facade of coolness. That's just exactly it. When he steps out, he is doing nothing but an act. This isn't who looks the coolest. This is who is the coolest. And once his plan starts unraveling, he drops his act, and you see the real Hans. And he isn't cool. He's sniveling and desperate for self-preservation. He certainly isn't cool in the end when he goes out like a little bitch, flailing and grimacing in shock as he falls to his death.
I'm sorry, he's falling to his death and he's playing like, yeah, but you know what he's doing in that thing? Yeah, when his plan is unraveling, you know how he keeps his cool? Because he delivers the coolest line of the movie, which is like, you're nothing but like a common thief. And he's like, I'm an exceptional thief. And since I'm moving up to kidnapping, you should be more polite. That is such a cool line that shows that he is keeping his composure in everything that he does, as opposed to that. Mike Lowry tries way too hard to be cool. I think you and I are differing on what cool is. You said to me like, cool is caring about your family. Coolness is not being a bad guy. But I just think it's the style that you have. Mike Lowry itself has such an overcompensating nature. That's such a core to his that's a core to it. The movie tries to make Mike look cool because Mike is trying to be cool. I think coolness is a level of effortlessness that you will never ever see in a Michael Bay film, and you will not see from Mike Lowry. Almost any coolness that Will Smith naturally exudes, I think, is overshadowed by Michael Bay sort of like ramming that down your throat. Like, isn't he so cool? But it's kind of funny that he's so cool. While Hans Gruber is effortless, he's style, he's in control, he's funny, he's dark, he's ready when he needs to go. I think that is cool.
You're ramming down his throat like, isn't he so cool? It's so funny he's cool because he is cool. Whether you think it's funny or not, he is cool. Hans Gruber, we've already established, he isn't cool. Yes, he's putting forth this facade of cool, but nothing about him is actually cool. And as far as the whole, caring about family thing, there is nothing cooler than being part of a loving family. And he found his. Marcus is being Uncle Mike to his kids, his captain with his wife. When he found out he had a son, he stepped up to it. Extreme situation was to try to help him be a better person, make amends, even though he's going to, he's got, prison and everything in his future, but he's still being a good person can be cool as well. If we want to talk about the superficial things, the clothing, things like that, then yes, Mike Lowry has that. If we want to talk about the more meaningful things that make you cool, he has that. Whereas Hans Gruber only has the act he's putting on. That's it.
You picked Mike Lowry in the first Bad Boys film, and coolest character in a Law and Order film, and in Bad Boys himself, the very first one that he did. That's the question. Pick in the coolest Law and Order film.
I was not told
Mike Lowry, Bad Boys.
Film.
Okay, doesn't matter. Either way, in the Michael, when we meet Mike Lowry himself, you know what he's known as? He's known as a sleazy sex story guy, someone who you don't know where his lips are, someone who sleeps around and tells kids all these sex stories, who is just oozing with a sort of like grossness to it. When he gets the phone call saying like, "Oh, is this another paternity test?" He's a scuzzy person in this first movie, and he presents it by just. But he's just that I just don't think it's cool. But the coolness that Hans Gruber exudes in every situation that he does, because he keeps calm, he keeps collected, he messes with the people around him, he stays in complete control of his crew and everyone around him, and he messes with the dumb police force, and he's such a perfect counterpoint to the brash crashness of John McClane of everything about this. Marcus and the counterpoint of Marcus and Mike together are just yelling. Well, it's a cool, not cool counterpoint of Die Hard.
Time. Okay, we're going to start with Brian for your closing. Brian, you get 1 minute when you start talking.
On the surface, Hans Gruber does seem pretty cool, and he's a great character. But whether it's acting like a whimpering coward Bill Clay to save his own life, which McClane saw right through, so his act wasn't working, or showing his true cowardice and hiding behind a woman with a gun to her head before falling to his death, Hans Gruber, the true Hans Gruber, is just a thief. Someone who does a great job of putting up an act of cool, but none of it is real. In reality, he's nothing more than a crook, a man who his terrorist organization he was in kicked him out, didn't want to associate with him, and who even his own brother in Die Hard 3 said he was an asshole. Mike Lowry, on the other hand, is cool on every conceivable level. He looks cool, he acts cool, he lives his life cool. From his personality and charm to his lifestyle, his clothes, cars, his look, his physical abilities, and more importantly, he is cool in how he lives his life and what he devotes it to. Not just his job, but his loyalty and devotion to everyone in his life. Being cool is more than just about image. It's about who you really are when you aren't putting up a front. One of these two characters is still cool even when things aren't going according to plan. And you see the real personality, and it's not Hans Gruber.
Time. Okay. We're going to move over to Jacoby. Jacoby, you have 1 minute to close when you start talking.
we know that Die Hard is one of the best action movies ever, and I do think a big element of that success is pitting its everyman lead character, someone specifically designed to be like the anti-cool action hero of the 80s, against a villain who is operating at unheard of levels of coolness and swag. I think every aspect of what makes someone cool, Hans Gruber, especially as a character itself, Hans Gruber excels at. Simple things like his designer suits and sophisticated British accent, to his command and handling of his crew, how they all form around him and they listen to him, to how he interacts with the hostages and the really dumb police force jerking them around all that he can, to how he can switch between that like ice cold boss vibe to his suave and confident persona, just like it's a season of miracles, because he's so confident in everything that he does, because he knows he's in control of the situation and things are going to go his way because of the stupidity of others. Mike Lowry is sort of a jerk about how cool he is. Yes, Will Smith has swagger, but I think there's a lot of instances where the movie itself is so over the top and making fun of how cool Mike Lowry thinks he is. He's a prima donna, he's sleazy, and he has pictures of himself all over his apartment. That's not cool, where Hans Gruber is designed specifically to be a cool villain, and he succeeds.
Succeeds.
And he what? And he what?
Let's go to the judges. I'm in suspense. I love how Nazario did that like one time, like strike it from the record, and I just like now I like have to do that every match. Jacoby, can we get hands on screen, please?
I'm typing in who is Mike Lowry.
Okay, Nick and Javi, are you ready? Javi, you're kicking us off.
Oh, frick. All right. This one was
No. You're right. I'm starting.
Oh, okay, great. That's good for me.
No, that was totally wrong. I don't know why I thought that.
All right.
Nick pointed at me. Yes, Nick. You're here to tell me when I'm doing things wrong. I went with Brian. Here's why. I think that yes, Jacoby tried to pull he spent a lot of time talking about the Mike is only cool because Michael Bay is trying to make him look cool and it's kind of annoying type of thing. I thought Brian did a pretty good job of defending that, saying that being a friend, a strong friend is cool. Being someone who's close with the family is cool. A stand-up guy is cool. And yeah, like womanizer, like all that stuff it can also be kind of cool. I thought he did a good job. This is one of those moments where like I think his defense was actually stronger than his his offense was a little bit stronger than his defense, because I did think he did a really good job of convincing me that Gruber actually isn't that cool and he might put up a facade, but there are things in the movie that show that he's actually not cool whatsoever and it's all fake, versus Mike, where the thing on the outside is that he's like ultra uber cool and is just like he's cool for other reasons like the family stuff and whatnot. So I went with Brian. Nick, you were giving me looks.
Yeah, because you tried to go to Javi first, but now Javi's going to have a harder job. I bought it, so I voted for Jacoby. So
it's fair.
In summary, I didn't believe the fake argument about Hans Gruber from Brian. And I was kind of swayed by the fact that because like hearing the two choices, I was like, oh, Brian picked like the top answer easily. But I was kind of swayed by the like, maybe Mike's coolness is more superficial and they actually poke fun at like him being cool, like with the pictures and the like spending all the money and how it's actually. And like, you know, we're trying to show kids that like being cool is whatever. And I felt like Brian was trying to have his cake and eat it too with like, he's a womanizer, but also like a family man. And I voted for Jacoby. Javi.
Yeah, now I kind of wish I started. Thanks. Appreciate it, guys. I went with Brian. I think Brian sold me on the fact that so on the surface, Hans Gruber looks much cooler. Mike Lowry is supposed to be cool. but they both kind of said like, hey, listen, they're both supposed to look cool. One of them looks cooler more convincingly, but one of them is cooler, even though he looks less cool. I don't know if I'm making any sense at all, but that's how I kind of got it. It was like, well, it's like, well, one of the things is like, well, he's sleazy and he's whatever. It's like, yeah, but one of them's a murderer. It's like, that does actually kind of be like, yeah, if you're gonna say one of them did this bad thing, the other one did much worse things. So, yeah. Anyway, I went with Brian.
Technically, Mike is also a murderer, but he murdered murderers. But anyway, all right.
He shot that bad guy in that first movie like 8 times, and he threatened to kill a lot of people.
You didn't bring it up. It wasn't brought up.
All right, we're moving on to the bonus round. Here's how it's going to work. I randomized a category, I randomized where the category was going to come from, either fandom or general movies. And then I randomized the remaining categories that weren't drafted for the prep round. So I'm going to say the question. I'm going to post the question in the private chat so you guys can get a look at it. And then I'm going to repeat the question a second time. Once I've said the question twice, you can answer the question. Whoever answers the question first will be going first. You will each get 45 seconds. And then you will each get 30 seconds after that. Do we understand how it's going to work?
Much like David Mills, I would have preferred death, but yes, go ahead.
That's right. All right. The side of Fanzone that was drafted was Fandom. Thank God, because I can't say Mayzone anymore. And your category that was randomized in Fandom was Galaxy Quests. And to help you out, I've put what's in Galaxy Quests in the question. So you have that to look at.
I was about to look up your list.
Your question is simply, what is the best Galaxy Quests film?
Oh, shit.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Okay.
So again, what is the best Galaxy Quests film?
Empire Strikes Back.
Okay, The Empire Strikes Back.
I'm going to pick. What do I want to pick? I'm going to pick Dune 2.
Dune Part 2.
Dune Part 2.
Or Dur, as Nick would say. Let's get rid of Nick. Let's get rid of Javi. I'm going to stay on screen to give you guys your countdowns. We're talking Empire Strikes Back versus Dune Part 2. What is the better movie? Brian, you have 45 seconds on the clock when you start talking.
The very heart of what fandom is basically in Star Wars. Star Wars has created the biggest, kind of the original fandom that everyone goes around. And what is almost unanimously considered the best film of that franchise is The Empire Strikes Back. It took the first film, elevated everything up to a second level, had your classic characters, your classic villain, increased everything even more, added more characters. The villains became more imposing. It ended with a cliffhanger ending, which basically gave birth to kind of the ongoing franchise. It was the first time you kind of had that downer ending in between. And that made it more exciting. The fights in it, whether it be the snow battle with the AT-ATs on Hoth, whether it be the lightsaber duel with Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader when they finally face off, which you've been waiting for through the whole first 2 movies, they're epic fights. It's epic space battles. Everything about it is wonderful.
Time. Jacoby, 45 seconds.
I think Dune Part 2 represents everything that is mighty and epic about sci-fi filmmaking right now today. The spectacle behind it, I think, reinvigorated a sort of sci-fi filmmaking that I don't know if we thought could have been potentially possible in terms of these dense, mythologically heavy stories that Dune 2 can provide. It is so epic under the direction of Denis Villeneuve, who crafts this such an amazing story that I think defines modern sci-fi filmmaking and can bring it into the future. Now we know that we can make more of these movies like this, that stories like these can be catapulted and launched for the next thing. This is the next era of what sci-fi filmmaking can truly represent. Everything from its characters and its from Timothy and the actors within it, where everybody, all the in Hollywood right now is doing it. The fights, the choreography, the actors, everyone is so wonderful in this movie.
Wonderful in this movie. Striking from the record. Brian, 30 seconds.
I think Dune 2 wouldn't exist without Star Wars, without Empire Strikes Back, showing what the greatest thing that Star Wars could be. Because Dune, the old 80s Dune was crap. They were never going to redo it. But this Dune, some people took things seriously, and they were able to do it with maybe better special effects, things like that. The characters are not nearly as iconic as in Star Wars. The villains aren't nearly as memorable. I can't remember the names of most of the villains in there. The space battles aren't nearly as interesting. Yes, they're cooler technology. It's been updated. But Star Wars is everything that fandom has always wanted to be. It is considered one of the best sci-fi films of all time.
Jacoby, 30 seconds.
I think Empire Strikes Back represents the past and Dune represents the future. I think Empire Strikes Back is like, it's kind of an old and outdated sort of element of that, where it spawned such crap of where Star Wars is now. I don't think Star Wars would be so crappy right now if Empire Strikes Back never existed. Well, Dune Part 2 itself is such a new and exciting way where we can build sci-fi. Yes, Dune 2 is influenced by Empire Strikes Back, absolutely. But I think it takes everything it does to the next level itself. Everything from its magnificent special effects that reminds us of why we love movies in the first place and why we love rich sci-fi stories.
Rich sci-fi stories, strike it from the record.
Technically, yeah, but I usually let a lot of that slide. But okay, good shit, guys. This was what we expected. I promise next time you guys won't have to play that hard, people, because you'll probably be higher ranked in the tournament. Well, whoever wins, you're gonna have a hard fight, I guess, because you're on your way to the title. So.
Jacoby, you were supposed to take a lot longer to come up with your answer, so I could have time to think of things to say.
All right, I'm ready. Are you guys?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Okay. Javi, you're starting.
Yeah. Jacoby, I don't hate you. I did go with Brian again, though. Sorry, I can't see that. There we go. I tried, and I don't think it did, but I'm not the biggest Dune fan. Jacoby very excellently illustrated why people like Dune more than most people have been able to get me to do. I've only seen one viewing of it, by the way. I want that to be clear. But Brian just gave me a better success. He successfully was able to reiterate, like, well, without Star Wars, we wouldn't have been able to get Dune, especially the first Dune, second Dune. That's what I call it. I call it second Dune. Just being like, it took what Star Wars is and made it better, and it elevated everything else, including fandoms itself, which really appealed to me. I don't know if that was the goal, is being like, fandom. Javi, enjoy fandom? Yes, I do enjoy fandom. So I went with Brian for that reason.
Okay. This was great. 2 5 out of 5 films, so thank you. Brian picked the one that I think, yeah, you look at the list and it's kind of right there. Did he capitalize on it? I think he did. Brian the Egg McMuffin is what I wrote. And here's the reason why. I think that Javi brought up what Brian said of, like, without The Empire Strikes Back or without Star Wars, there would be no Dune. I don't know why Brian is Keanu Reeves.
Just like Keanu, yeah.
Yeah, but that's that. I didn't take too much weight into that, but what I did take weight in is if you're looking at the two films in a box, which is what we're doing, and Brian said the villains of Empire Strikes Back are memorable. The scenes are more memorable. The action scenes are more memorable. The moments memorable. Yes, the legacy of the film matters, but that in a box also matters. And while I love Dune Part 2 more than Dune Part 1, and especially the 80s one. Yeah, I'm having a hard time remembering a lot of the characters' names beyond like the Emperor and Paul Atreides. And so I think Jacoby hit it with like the visual effects and the story and everything, but I think Brian just overall the legacy and the memorability of the film hit for me. Nick, your vote, where would it have gone?
I don't hate you, Brian, but I voted for Jacoby. It turned so I heard stuff about the movies, but the main fight seemed to be about like the legacies of the film and not necessarily the film themselves. And saying we wouldn't have the BS Star Wars we have today if it weren't for The Empire Strikes Back is a wild statement.
Yeah, I was confused by that myself.
It was like, I think I get where you're going, but and I appreciated where, like, if the legacy of The Empire Strikes Back is The Last Jedi and The Rise of Skywalker, that is not maybe it's not the best legacy, and Dune representing the future and capitalizing on all the things of the like, just because it came first doesn't mean it's better. That I found more persuasive in this particular discussion.
Awesome. All right. Well, that means your winner is Brian Michaels, the Egg McMuffin Michaels. We are going to go talk to Jacoby real quick. Jacoby, fantastic match. This sucks. When we schedule two people who are so good, we know ahead of time, like Nick and I, like, oh, one of them's got to lose, and it's not fun when that happens. But I still think, that being said, you played great. We say this a lot, but I genuinely feel it this time. This was one of the best debates I've got the chance to see in a while. I think you guys both complimented each other really well. It wasn't the extreme fireworks of a Jacoby and Kirk or something, but it was just really passionate. You guys went back and forth. It was great. What are your thoughts coming out of the match?
No, yeah. First off, hats off to Brian. Like that's a hell of a win. That was great. I loved all of his points, and I thought he won all the points that he needed to. He definitely beat me there in that speed round. Hearing that, I was like, crap. I thought I could form more of an argument there that I wanted to, but then those 45 seconds and 30 seconds goes by really, really quick there. So hats off to him. I thought I played it good. I'm happy with everything. I don't think I left anything like on the table or anything that I regret. So I'm very happy for Brian, and this was a lot of fun. This was a very fun debate. I did enjoy debating Brian a lot because, again, I do think our sensibilities are very similar, and I still believe that. I think we approach questions kind of the same way in terms of how we structure our arguments, and we put them in a blender, and we went up against each other, and it led to a very fun time. So I had a blast. Thank you all. Congratulations to Brian.
Jacoby, the next time we're going to see you, I cannot confirm or deny, but I'm like 75% sure you're going to be in the tournament. We haven't 100% decided what we're going to do with this tournament yet, but I want to see you back. So Jacoby, who do you want to play? Whether it's in the tournament, whether it's later in the year, who do you want to play next time? Do you want to keep going on this train of people you haven't played before, or do you want to get another shot at someone that maybe you've lost to or something?
No, I think that's always, to me, that's always my goal, to always just debate new people, because I just like the differing debate styles, and I like the aspect of every debate being a little bit different. Obviously I want to get back to Kirk at some point and lose to him again. But I think that's okay. I think leading up to that, I think will be a lot of fun. So new people, and hopefully there are some.
Well, maybe if Nick Tuig comes back, we can get you guys in the ring together. Nick, thoughts?
Please. He's saying, I think that's a yes. I think he's saying yes. Javi, you're in debate. Yeah, you're in debate now. Javi and I can go.
Not very good.
I choose my champion in Javi Madden.
Jacoby, congrats on a match well played. We will see you later this season. I can't wait. I always look forward to a match with you. So congrats on a match well played. We'll see you next time. As we bring in the winner, Mr. Brian Michaels. Brian, hell of a win. You seemed shocked at a few of the points that were given out to you. Your thoughts on the match?
It's everything I had hoped for in the debate with Jacoby. That was a lot of fun. I don't understand judging anymore because I lost things I thought I won, but then I also won things I was sure I lost. So who the fuck knows anymore? But apparently I said the right things. Like I said, I would have almost rather lost than gone to the speed round because I mean, you saw it. I was flailing, I was bumbling, I was babbling, but apparently I got out enough words to, push it in my direction. So thanks for that. Yeah, just nice to get back in the win column again. See what's next.
Well, I can tell you what's next. Your next opponent is going to be either Cameron Holtzman or Nazario Montenegro.
Oh.
What do you think? Tell me. Tell me what you
I
think.
think I've beat them both already. But like I said with Kirk, it's like I think that just lights a fire under them to want to come back that much harder and drives them more to defeat me. So and now they know what to expect from me. When I think before maybe I had like an element of surprise. So yeah, I think that it will not be as easy this time around, no matter which one I face, and either one will be fun.
Yeah, absolutely, Brian. I'm looking forward to it. We'll see you in that next match, which I believe, let me pull up the handy dandy schedule. That's right. It will be a contender match. That's a contender match, Brian. So we'll see you in that next one. I'm looking forward to it. Well, I want to get final thoughts from you guys. Javi, Nick, why don't we start with Nick? Final thoughts from you.
Good. Brian, good. Jacoby, good.
Javi, thoughts from you?
Bad. No. No, they did great. That was, I recently debuted and they did a lot better than I did. And that shows that they've done this a lot longer. So if I have to play either of them, like Jacoby was like, maybe Hawk, no, please no, I'll get knocked out. But that was, yeah, that was good. What's up?
I trust you. You can take him.
I can't. It have to be all fandom, and it all need to be all things I know in fandom. But no, great. I really like both their ways of playing. This was fun. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Javi. Thank you to Jacoby and Brian. Thank you to all the people behind the scenes that make Fanzone debate happen. Mark, Kirk, all the other judges. Thank you so much. We'll see you guys next time with another great match coming up next week. We've got Adelaide Spence taking on Brooklyn Vale. That's going to be a fun one. We'll see you guys next time with that. Until then, have a great night.
Bye. There we go. Thanks a lot. Come again.
Hey, I won't forget what you've done for me here today.
I would prefer that you do.